The current market conditions right now just aren't good. Candidly, that's how things look. That's how things are. We all feel it. And so for an altcoin to rally 70% in this context, in these last 24 hours, is something that you can't really ignore. This is an altcoin that recently has seen pretty massive whale activity as well, and it listed on not one, but two major crypto exchanges yesterday. The altcoin that I'm talking about, the altcoin in question, is Clearpool. Let's try to understand a little bit of what's happening here. There is $27 trillion worth of value, sitting idle in terms of the global financial system right now. Money that is effectively trapped in old school payment corridors. These are dollars that aren't really doing anything. They're collecting dust while the rest of the world keeps improving. Now, imagine a DeFi protocol that's stepping in to unlock that capital. It moves instantly and actually, for a change, pays you yield for helping make it happen. So this is exactly what Clearpool is doing, and their new vertical called PayFi might be one of the most under the radar moves in cryptocurrency right now. Maybe you're a little bit familiar with Clearpool already. We have talked about them previously on the channel, but if you have been watching from afar, you know this isn't just another DeFi or RWA pitch. That's because they've already worked with major institutions like Jane Street and Wintermute, to name just a couple, and they've processed over $830 million in credit and have paid out millions in yield to lenders. And all of that is historically speaking, but PayFi is really something worth talking about. It's a whole new level, and in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what it is, how it works. Plus, we'll also see why CPOOL, the token, CPOOL, really could be a refreshing and successful altcoin in this market because it could be sitting on some serious upside potential if this trend takes off. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest, okay? I wish you well. But I am not a financial or investment advisor, nor is this video official financial or investment advice. Let's kick off here with a little bit of history, because if you've been in this space and you've been around, then you probably know that DeFi hype cycles come and go. But in contrast, Clearpool has actually built something that works pragmatically. They were the first to introduce single borrower credit pools in all of crypto. That is where borrowers do not need to post collateral in order to borrow. And Clearpool has originated over $850 million in stablecoin credit. Now, that's not speculative in any way, shape, or form. These are actual loans to major players in the market. And the thing is that these are real institutions and listed companies. I mentioned Jane Street, but also Flow Traders, Wintermute as well. These are big names. These are big clients, obviously, and these represent the kinds of institutions that don't want to play around when it comes to risk. They don't want to take any unnecessary risk, right? Clearpool has already paid out more than $10 million in stablecoin interest to lenders as well. It's not TVL that sits idle. That's real yield, real users, and real world credit moving on chain. The beauty of that is that real users earn real interest. And it's also one of the few DeFi platforms that brings TradFi institutions and DeFi together at scale. It's available on multiple chains, so Optimism, Arbitrum, Avalanche, Polygon, Mantle, Base, and others as well. So when you talk to people and they're of the opinion for one reason or another that DeFi has no, quote, real use case, you can show them Clearpool. That is the best refutation. That is the best counter argument because Clearpool represents DeFi that really does work. Quick shout out to Surge here. This is our risk-free prediction game that's available on Telegram. And in this game, you just swipe left or right. You can kind of think Hamster Combat or even Tinder. You're swiping to guess whether a crypto asset pumps or dumps. And in the process, you earn rewards. And actually, hopefully, you can pick up some market skills as well while you're at it in the form of technical analysis. They've also kicked off a weekly giveaway. It's a contest that is super simple. Every week, there's a coin of the week. And this week, it is Trump, Trump. And all you have to do is swipe to find it in the Surge app. Then once you see it, screenshot it and then drop it under their tweet. One random reply wins $50 in USDT. It is super easy, but in order to win and have a chance at winning, of course, you have to at least participate. So check out Surge, have some fun swiping, and maybe snag some cool prizes along the way. Check out the links, the URLs in the description of this video below to participate. Now, this is where things get a little bit more interesting because Clearpool's next act is PayFi. And this is targeting an untapped $1 trillion space in the form of stablecoin payments financing. What is that? PayFi helps fintechs and payment companies get instant liquidity. And that liquidity funds cross-border payments, also card transactions, and remittances. These are all powered by DeFi credit. Traditionally speaking, these firms have had to pre-fund every payment corridor. It's like locking away money so transactions can settle smoothly. And then you multiply that across the globe, and you've got $27 trillion, like I said, collecting dust. PayFi entirely flips this model because instead of locking up capital, fintechs can borrow short-term liquidity from Clearpool lenders. It's usually for only 1 to 5 days. So for lenders, that means faster cycles, premium yields, plus exposure to real-world credit flows, and not the usual crypto leverage loop. Clearpool expects PayFi to deliver double-digit annual yields. And the best part, arguably, is that it's backed by actual payment volume, not just some speculative farming gimmick. In other words, and I'll say it once again, it is real yield, uncorrelated to market volatility. And at the center of all of this sits cpUSD. This is a yield-bearing asset built on ERC-4626 smart vaults. Here's how it works. So 75% of funds go into PayFi credit vaults. These generate yield from short-term institutional credit. The other 25% stays in liquid yield-bearing assets. So assets like SUSDE or cUSDX, and this ensures easy redemptions. So if you are a lender, holding cpUSD means your stablecoins are not sitting idle. They're working for you actively. But no lockups, no waiting. Instead, you get continuous yield from real-world credit, and all under your control at all times. And for fintech borrowers, PayFi offers something that banks cannot. Borrowers here get instant working capital without all the bureaucracy or the cross-border friction that you would otherwise encounter. Now, obviously, none of this works without trust, and that's where Clearpool's partnerships come in. This is worth emphasizing here. They've teamed up with Cicada Partners. Cicada is an institutional-grade monitoring agent that tracks and audits PayFi credit pools. You can think of Cicada as kind of the credit watchdog. It provides real-time oversight and risk scoring for every borrower on the platform. And that's actually a pretty big differentiator because most DeFi protocols in terms of credit still operate in the dark. So this is really a new benchmark in terms of a level of transparency and compliance that gives institutions the confidence that they actually need in order to participate. And I'm happy to say that the partnerships don't stop there. Clearpool also received a $400,000 grant from the Plasma blockchain to scale its PayFi pools. This is one of the most anticipated stablecoin-first networks and a pretty important player to have as a partner. Their first fintech credit vault went live on Plume Network, another big name, of course, in the RWA space. And so it's pretty obvious that they are not building in isolation. They're integrating directly into the next-gen blockchains and scaling up together. The ones focused, again, on real-world assets and stablecoin infrastructure. Let's talk now about what this means for investors, because CPOOL, again, CPOOL, listed on Upbit and BitThumb yesterday. Its trading volume pumped 780%. That CPOOL token, of course, sits right at the heart of this ecosystem, and so as PayFi grows, more fees, yields, more value starts flowing back to CPOOL holders. And then in turn, of course, this creates a direct play on the stablecoin payments market. It's actually kind of the same narrative that made XRP famous, cross-border payments. But the key difference here is the fact that XRP runs on closed rails, whereas Clearpool is doing it all on transparent DeFi infrastructure, again, with real yield. If we look at the numbers here, we see that XRP has a fully diluted valuation of about 239, let's call that $240 billion. While Clearpool is sitting at under a $100 million FDV. As you can see here, $99 million. This is a 2,500-fold difference that really isn't justified. So think about this. If CPOOL grows to, let's say, 1% of XRP's market cap, that's about a 15 to 20 times move in terms of a multiple. Of course, that's not a guarantee, but it does show the scale of opportunity, again, if PayFi takes off. And we think it's actually a pretty good narrative and it's worthy of taking off. Look, Plasma's ecosystem is growing fast and really the entire DeFi world is pivoting toward real-world yield. So the narrative momentum is certainly all there. If you are looking for a very much under-the-radar RWA and stablecoin play, before the rest of the crowd shows up, you should consider CPOOL, CPOOL, as a project. It does deserve a closer look. So right now we are still very much in the early phases of this whole stablecoins meeting TradFi kind of situation. If you think about it, the Genius Act that only just passed in July, and that of course opened up the potential for TradFi to use stablecoins and DeFi rails. That's going to lead to faster and cheaper payments. And nobody really knows who the winners or the losers are going to be, but I think very likely there will be many winners. It's going to be a big pie that's going to be split among a lot of participants. Ondo, of course, is grabbing all kinds of headlines, as is Maple, Injective, and others out there. But none of them are into PayFi, at least not yet. Perhaps they will be one day, but not right yet as far as what they've told us. Clearpool, therefore, has a first mover advantage here. If you think about stablecoins, they are all over Fortune 500 earning calls, and they're gaining mindshare really daily. And this is exactly the space that Clearpool occupies. Clearpool is planting the seeds for a winning position in stablecoin infrastructure. Quality partnerships with the likes of Cicada and building across Plasma and Plume. As a project, they certainly seem to be putting the right systems in place early. This is basically the opposite of a degen yield farm. It is real infrastructure for real finance. So in conclusion, if we think about Clearpool, it started as a decentralized credit platform really for institutions, but now it's breaking into one of the biggest untapped opportunities in crypto in the form of stablecoin payment financing. PayFi brings liquidity, real yield, and transparency, again, to a $27 trillion market. A market that I'm not even sure why, for all kinds of unknowable reasons, DeFi has avoided, at least so far. If they pull this off, Clearpool will not only be part of the RWA narrative, but it could also become the credit layer that powers the entire stablecoin economy. If this is in any way appealing to you, if you feel that there's any sort of market value here that's being offered, then you should probably check out Clearpool's website. Also check out the staking and vault yields that they offer, because after all, anyone here can be a lender on Clearpool. Check out Clearpool's real yields today.